Today I want to talk about the coming recession, or the recession, I guess, that's already here. I want to talk about my prediction for the online space and why I think group coaching as we know it is dead. And number three, I want to talk about exactly how you can structure your offer and position yourself to not only survive, but thrive during these times. And we've all heard that we are going through some kind of economic recession right now, whether it's here, whether it's, coming. I mean, technically I think we're in one, but then they changed the definition of what one was. But every expert that I've listened to, that I've seen in headlines and deep dive videos, they're all saying the same thing. We are heading into a insane, turbulent, uncertain time in 2023 and beyond, and we have to be prepared. And for us as coaches, we would be insane, we would be crazier than we even already are if we simply ignored it and hope that, what we did up until this point to get clients, to keep clients, is just going to keep working throughout this turbulent time. Because the reality is, it will not work, right? Make no mistake, we have to adapt or we will be hurt and held back during this time. But there are two massive considerations that we have to think about when it comes to everything that's happening globally and with stepping into this next season as a coach or consultant. The first is the economy is collapsing, right? Which is what I've already alluded to, but we have to think about how this affects spending. Now, I'm not going to go into how recessions work and how they're created and all of that. I'm not smart enough. That's a subject for another video for a much smarter person than myself. But the easiest way to understand recessions is three things. The first is it's a wildly uncertain time. So regardless of whether people are impacted financially right away or not, people become more uncertain, more fearful, more scared about what is happening, about the possibilities of what could happen. So that affects the way that they spend money. Even before they're making less money or things are more expensive, they're just more uncertain, which means that is, and you might have already experienced that on sales calls, right? You're trying to close people, and someone that would have been a hell yes 6 months from now is now like uncertain. They're on the fence. They're going to talk to their wife even more than they used to. They're now saying like, let's wait till next year. So there's just an uncertainty that recessions bring. Number two, there is fear and real consequences to people's incomes. Obviously, we know people are going to be laid off, but even in the business sector, which many of you will be working in, whether you're a business coach or whether you're a consultant to businesses, businesses' revenues go down in recessions. Now, not all of them, right? I don't intend to go down, right? I'm in here to thrive, not just to survive. But the reality is most businesses you're dealing with are going to be working with less revenues, less incomes. And so therefore it's going to, constrict spending. And number three is that people's costs will go up due to inflation, right? And this is a really unique time in history where it's like there's all of these ingredients thrown together, which just means it's going to be one heck of a next couple of years. And so you're going to be having people being more afraid with the resources they do have. The resources they have coming in might be reduced, significantly or at least incrementally. And then number three, people's expenses are going to be going up, especially in cost of living. So you've got really big things to think about and to contend with. And then we have this other thing going on that many of you might be sensing but can't quite articulate, which is that the online space is maturing. It's changing. It's evolving before our eyes. There are certain things that you could do 12 months from now that, regardless of the economy, simply don't work because the online space is maturing. Now, a couple of things are happening when it comes to the maturing. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. Let's talk about the negative things first. The negative things are that you're dealing with a lot more clients and a lot more prospects that have been burned before, right? Have you heard something similar to that, right? They've been in the coach, they were promised the 100K a month, promised the whatever, and they paid the money and they didn't get the result. And for many people, they've gone through a couple of courses, coaches, mentors, and now they're coming to you and they're on a sales call with you or a rep and they're feeling cynical, skeptical, resentful. And now the sale is harder. The sale is harder to make because of that sense of skepticism that's come from being burned in the past. So maturity is happening in that regard because we've been around a longer period of time, which means business owners and even consumers have been through different programs, whereas a couple of years ago, it was a newer concept for a lot of businesses. You might market to a restaurant and say, I'm going to help you increase your revenue. That might be one of the first marketing messages that they'd heard like that on a Facebook ad, right? And so now we're hitting that point of maturity where people have been burned, people are more skeptical, there's cynicism built up in a lot of people. Not that they don't want coaching, but just that they've been promised things that didn't eventuate. The second thing that's happening in the maturity is that there are more coaches than ever doing what you do, right? Have you noticed that? You have so many competitors, and now people are jumping on calls with you and being like, well, so-and-so does it for cheaper. Or how are you different than this coach? And you might be feeling it from an insecure standpoint, but also just from the observation of, wow, there seems to be so many people in this space. And so what I want to talk about is the easiest way to stand out in the next 12 to 24 months in a very practical way. And also this kind of prediction that's leading to my belief that group coaching as we know it is dying. Okay, so recap, economy's collapsing, online space is maturing, and you and I have to adapt to keep up to not only survive, but thrive. So what I see happening is that consumers, people who are spending money, are going to want more for less. And the second thing is we need to stand out from competitors, right? More for less, stand out from competitors. And so one of the things that I see happening in the online space is that there are very few true coaches anymore, right? People that you just sign up to work with, and there's no done for you, there's no recruitment, there's no software, there's no live events, there's no certification. It's literally just group coaching. Now, you're going to think of the person who's like at the top of the game, who's like doing 10 million a year, who's just doing group coaching, and that's amazing, and they'll continue to exist because people at the top of their game, the top 1%, the top 0.1% industries will always be able to find a market for whatever product they sell. That's the reality when you've got to that level. For most of us, going into 2023, your ability to make money simply selling a group coaching offer, I think is going to be diminished for the average coach more than ever. Firstly, I know very few people thriving with that model now, but secondly, as we step more into the recession, where people are wanting more for less, and as we have more competitors popping out of, seemingly nowhere, it's going to be very, very hard to compete. And so here is what I'm seeing happen and why I really want to share this video so you can figure out how to position your offer. The offers that I'm seeing thrive now and stepping into 2023 have three key ingredients. I've just got some notes here. I just want to read them out because if you're trying to figure out how to position yourself, this is how you should be thinking about it. Number one, the foundation of great coaching programs is still going to be the group aspect, okay? So that doesn't disappear. It doesn't diminish in value. It just can't be the only value proposition. And so what group looks like is obviously content, community, and group support calls. So that's the first pillar. But if that's the only pillar, it will not be enough to thrive during these times, is kind of my prediction. Number two, you'll need to have one-to-one coaching and consulting. And so here's what I mean by this. The coaching aspect for a lot of people is very relational and accountability based in nature. And you cannot diminish the value of that. It is very important that people in your program are held to account and they have clear game plans and they know what they're supposed to be doing. If you're a weight loss coach, right, there can't just be a group aspect, I believe. For people to be successful, they need to be challenged on, hey, you said you were going to do this. Why didn't you do that? Are you clear on the game plan, etc.? That coaching element is really, really important. And to create an offer that thrives in these economic times, in this state of the online space, you need to have that one-to-one component, whether it's a monthly check-in call, whether it's a onboarding call, whether it's game plan, quarterlies, whatever it might be, there is the coaching element. Are you clear on the game plan? Here's what you're supposed to do. I'm going to hold you to account along the way, and we're going to build a relationship. But the second aspect of one-to-one that I think is becoming increasingly popular, that is a really key way in helping consumers get more for less, right? More perceived value, more actual value from the money they pay you, and standing out from competitors, is one-to-one consulting. And so here's what that means. In our space, what we have is a need for, when you're scaling a business, there are so many different skills that you need to build in order to get to 100K a month, right? You need to figure out how to do acquisition. But in acquisition, we got ads and funnels, we got managing a sales team, we got writing copy and content. Then we also have the product. It's like, how do we build a coaching team? How do we manage the team, etc.? Like, there are so many components. It's not like, hey, this is the only strategy and do it. It's like there are many different aspects of that strategy. And so your client's ability to jump on a call or get help in a community setting from an expert consultant, someone that is the best of the best in your world at ads, funnels, copy, whatever it may be, that's a value proposition that's going to go a long way when people start figuring out, looking at bank statements. Okay, I'm paying this coach this money, this coach this money. How am I going to get the most amount of value from the money that I have? The one-to-one consulting is going to go a long way. And so what we need to do is become more of a one-stop shop when it comes to our coaching programs and become kind of coaching consulting programs, because people are really looking to get as much value from the money they're spending as possible. And so we're up until this year, it's not uncommon to have someone in this program for this particular problem, and they're in this program to learn about sales team management, they're in this program to learn about ads and funnels. That's not going to be possible for a lot of people moving forward because of everything we've discussed so far. So we need to figure out, how do we make our programs more of a one-stop shop? We've got the one-to-one coaching accountability, but we also need the one-to-one consulting. How do we solve specific problems from subject matter experts? So that's number 2. Is the second problem we need to have is high-touch one-to-one coaching and consulting. But here is the third thing that might surprise some of you. In our business, I have the absolute privilege of not just working with our clients, which at this stage is, we've just crossed 750 total clients that we've worked with up until this stage, but I get to jump on calls and do consulting sessions with people at 6, 7, 8 figures regularly, and they that was a great stutter. I get to give them advice. They get to give me advice. I get to have my finger on the pulse of the industry probably more than most. And it's an incredibly privileged position to be, because rather than just looking at our little pocket of the internet and saying, what's working, what's not, I get to get a real macro view. And what's fascinating to me, I'm about to share an insight with you that I think for many of you is going to draw some conclusions. For the people crushing it right now, I cannot think of almost anyone. I can think of a couple of exceptions, because again, there's some 0.1% coaches that are going to break the rules because they've got an audience of 100,000 or whatever it might be. But for average people like you and me, I can't think of anyone that's really thriving that does not have the third pillar, which is an aspect of one of these 5 things. Okay, so the third pillar is like, I don't even have a category for it. I'm just going to explain what these 5 things are. The 5 things I'm seeing people use to really stand out and continue to be viable options for people that in a recessionary restriction with spending, they continue to invest in them. They've got one of these 5 things. They have software, right? SaaS. That's a core part of their coaching program. So it's like you might have the one-to-one component, the group component. You also now have software, right? It's going to be your funnels, your emails, all that kind of stuff. Number 2, recruitment. So we offer recruitment within our business. We do VA recruitment and setter recruitment. We've done that for about a year. And that has been a huge pillar in helping make it easier for people to say yes to us and in standing out in our market. So recruitment is another really big thing that I think is going to be used in 2023 and beyond to help stand out and beef out, so to speak, the coaching and consulting offers that people build. Number 3, done for you. Now, this is not so much a category as it's an umbrella term for like, it's done for you anything, right? It's like, could be done for you, appointment setters, done for you ads, funnels, done for you emails, done for you content, whatever it is. This is a huge key to really thriving through this next period, is helping people hands-on. Rather than just selling your advice, you're now giving and providing a service. Number 4, the people I'm seeing thrive in this period are people that offer a live or workshop. And again, you don't have to do all of these 5 things I'm sharing, but these are some of the recurring themes I'm seeing. So people that are doing some form of live, right? It's almost like I said recently, it's like offline is the new online. It's like, in COVID, it was like, whoa, we don't have to meet in person. We can just do Zoom everything. And I think people are now getting pretty zoomed out. So people running retreats, live workshops, live events becomes a really cool component to the online experience. And then number 5, certification. So let me quickly recap. Economy's collapsing, market's changing. There are 3 things that you need to do to stand out and thrive in this time. You need a great group foundation, right? Content, community, group support calls. The second pillar is you need high touch one-to-one coaching and accountability and consulting. And then number 3, you typically are going to need one of these 5 things. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't have one of these 5 things, you're not going to survive. I'm saying if you want the best chance of thriving, you're probably going to choose one of these 5 things: software, recruitment, done for you, live workshops and retreats, and then certification. And I'm sharing this because of all the conversations that I've been having with people. Firstly, there are very few people at the 7 and 8 figure level that I talk to now that don't have this kind of configuration in their business, which is why I'm convinced that true group coaching offers for the average coach are dying. Right? It's less viable to say, hey, it's $6,000, it's $8,000, it's $10,000, and you get content, you get a group, and you get support calls, right? And email support at my business name, right? Those kinds of offers worked 2 years ago. I'm seeing them work less and less today. The people that want to not only survive, but thrive in these times are going to have a combination of group, one-to-one, and kind of this done for you aspect, right? SaaS recruitment, done for you ads, funnels, emails, something like that, live workshop, retreat, or a certification aspect. So I'm curious to know, do you agree with me? Are you seeing trends like this? Super happy to be wrong about this. This is definitely just what I'm seeing in my own experience. And so this is the game plan that we are using to create our own kind of recession-proof business model. I'm very bullish on 2023. I think this is not a time to be scared, but I definitely think it is a time to adapt and make sure that you're not just swept up in the kind of tides that I think a lot of coaches and consultants will be, which is that, they're just going to keep doing what they're doing and not change anything and hope for the best. And I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think you have to adapt, you got to change, you got to improve, we've got to level up and increase our skills, improve the quality of our offer, and really step up in this time. So hoping this is helpful. Let me know if it was helpful, and we will talk soon.